What's going on, everyone? My name is Fabian Centeno, and this is Tomorrow's Creators. Tomorrow's Creators is basically us, or myself rather, interviewing people who are in the middle of their dream. They have a goal, they have a thing set that they want to do with their lives, and it's big, and it's pretty much in the entertainment industry, whether it's film or art or whatever it is. And I'm basically hosting these people and basically talking to them, asking them certain questions about where they are in the middle of where they're going. And so we're not getting them where they're actually, there, where their dream's at and at their goal. We're getting them right in the middle. What I've seen is a lot of people who are, they're giving advice from a place of where they made it, which makes sense, right? It makes sense because, they have a place of influence. But I'm like, what about those people? I would have appreciated even if I saw that same person in the middle of what they're doing. And I think them now talking from a place of influence, I'm like, dude, he knows because he made it. And so this is not just that for you guys. It's to document as well. It's to document like when you guys later on are hopefully made it. I believe you will. And that's usually the case. People here are the ones that I think are going to make it. And do stuff big, but it's for you guys to basically look back and even look at this, hear this podcast or see the podcast and reminisce and be like, man, I remember when I was there. I remember the feelings, I remember the emotions, and I still feel that way. Or if you're unpassionate, it's one of those things where you're like, man, I was so passionate there. I need to get that passion again. So this is what this is for. It's more for you guys. I'm like super blessed and super honored even to be in the presence of so many awesome people, and I'm glad I get to do this with you guys. And I just had someone the other day, Joshua Perry, who was our first guy who kind of helped create Tomorrow's Creators. But today I am joined with Andrew Yanni. He's one of my good friends, and it's funny because I just moved here to California about a year ago, so all my good friends are about 7 months old about in that time within the year because I haven't been here that long. Yeah. But Andrew Yanni has been a good friend of mine, who's a friend of a friend that we've gotten connected, and I think it's been great getting to know you and just seeing what you are able to do, and just the advice you've even given me as a young filmmaker. If you guys don't know, I want to be a filmmaker. That is something I want to be a director, and I know that's something you want to do, and that's the cool part. We're both striving, and so our relationship isn't even from a place of we're trying to compete with each other, which is the kind of the vibe almost. Yeah,
this is. I think
Cali,
it comes with LA. Yeah, whenever you're in LA, there's always that. There's somebody out there that is better than me, so I gotta work 10 times harder so I can keep up. But this is not the case. I think usually, if you took a couple steps, and the other person is probably a little more skilled than you in different aspect of what you're going with, and you just have to sharpen each other in a lot of things. I'm very weak in a lot of things that relates to filmmaking, but I'm working on them. But that is a good friend of mine who's already better at it, that can sort of teach me. That's one thing, and I can sort of teach them what they're lacking. Because I think it's not an individual effort, especially filmmaking. It's not an individual effort. It's a collaboration.
I love it because what we're doing is in the brand of Tomorrow's Creators. I really want to create something we're called nobodies, right? And so out of us being nobodies is we can't do is a few meanings, but we can't do anything by ourselves. We need teams. We need to be connected to something in order to achieve our goal. And so I love that was your mindset, and it's so funny because it could almost affect me, right? Because I come in with this mentality of knowing California is competitive. And so when I come in, I'm like, okay, Andrew or whoever it is competitive too. So I have to kind of whatever. And then your spirit was kind of like, hey, can you teach me something? And I was like, whoa, you want to be taught? This humble approach where it's like, man, okay, I don't have to be on guard. I can actually kind of break down my walls and open up and kind of receive advice. And so because you did that well, I feel like I did that well, and even Tim, who we'll have later on the podcast. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to have you individually, Tim, and then we'll have you both. So it's going to be great.
Awesome. Yes.
But before we get into all that, let's talk about you. Let's talk about, again, we know your name's Andrew Yanni, and we know that you want to be a director. But one of the big things that I kind of want to know is, what is your goal with being a director? Because I have a goal. What is your goal?
Okay. So first of all, I do want to thank you for having me.
For sure.
I'm a big believer that this is such a great opportunity for people that are on the way, like you said, to be able to keep themselves accountable to a certain extent, but at the same time be able to listen to the podcast from other people and really know what people that are like them in that craft are thinking and what are they going through, because we all know this is not easy at all. It's hard because it's not just a dream that we have. We have to make a living. We have to sustain life. We have to face all the realities of what life brings our way. But it is very motivating that you're doing this, and I can't wait to hear all the other people that would come on and just hear what their thoughts are.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate you. It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Andrew Yanni, and I was born and raised in Egypt. Came here when I was 17 years old with an uncomprehendable passion for filmmaking. I cannot explain what it is. I cannot put it into words, but there is this something that burns inside me that wakes me up in the morning that no one will ever comprehend. It's like I speak English, Arabic, and I think I'm most fluent into that language of filmmaking. I can communicate emotions and things that no language will ever communicate with that medium. But it actually started as acting. I'm sorry. When I was really young, around 6th grade, I was only good at acting. I was not good at anything else. Academically, all my life from 1st grade all the way to 6th grade, I failed all my English finals, all my science finals, and there's this stigma in the Middle East. If you do fail, around such a young age, there might potentially be something wrong with you mentally. And especially if you do it consistently. Yeah. And, the society sort of enforces that idea from you, and you hear it from people that are really close to you, like your parents, and you start believing that. You start believing that you're not, maybe you are retarded, like they're saying, maybe you are held back, and you start believing that, and you walk out into the world, and you believe that about yourself, and you almost intentionally fail everything because you don't believe that you're good at all. So at 6th grade, I remember I was at church, and they were like, we have a summer play and we want, people to join. And I was like, this is cool. Let me go try that. And I did it. And then I remember this same year, I got my first standing ovation ever at 6th grade. So just imagine the amount of confidence and ego boost that you get from people giving you a standing ovation. And I remember that same year for the same play, I won an award for being the best actor of my age on 3 countries, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan. And it was all around the Coptic church. Wow. And the Pope handed me the award. So just imagine, awesome. He went from 0 to hero in literally 3 months. I love it. And it was awesome. I loved the craft. I love being able to spend an hour in a room empty with just, music and really dig deep into these characters and live a world that is not really mine. Yeah. I can escape the retarded stigma that I have built inside myself and just really step into somebody else's shoes. I love that. Wow. So after that, I chased that feeling that I got when I was getting the standing ovation. It was the best, and I still remember it till this day. So I went off and I started watching everything that relates to that. I started watching I remember my first American film that I've seen was Face Off with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. And man, wasn't it epic? It was just so awesome. I saw it and I was like, I want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't know how. And obviously my first initial reaction is like I'm not seeing who's behind the camera. I'm seeing what's in front of the camera. So my initial instinct was acting, and I did it, and I was good at it. So let's get better at it. Sure. So I started going to all kinds of churches around, and do multiple plays per year. Yeah, I love it. And it was awesome. And then I started watching little by little. Started watching award shows and Emmys and Academy Awards, and I did the whole practice my speech thing, and I would like go home. And you know, obviously there's a time difference between Egypt and the US, so it would be, I would have school in the morning and I would be watching the Oscars from like 2 a.m. to like 6 a.m. And I would want to watch it live because nobody, and my parents are like, this dude is crazy. No one really comprehended and I was like, I was burning, like, like who's gonna win this, you know? And it was fun. I loved it. Wow. And I realized there was something whispering inside me that was telling me, you know, this is what you're called to do. This is what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. And I started looking into like different, international educational system, which was a brand new thing. Yeah. So American system schools were a little coming up. And I was like, this is cool. Because you get to transfer at some point if you ever maintain a good GPA and an SAT score. Great. So, to answer your question, remind me of your question again.
No, it's good. Boom, boom, boom. Why do you do what you do? And I think you're getting there. It's like almost there.
Right on. Yeah. So when I told my parents that, you know, I maintained the 4.0 GPA for the first 3 semesters, and then I got the SAT score, the minimum, and I was like, I told my parents, I want to do this, right? I want to be an actor, and they were like, obviously, you know, it's expected with any Middle Eastern family. They would expect you to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. And my dad especially really wanted me to be an engineer. And I was not bad at math after a certain point, but I didn't love it. I was not like infatuated by it in comparison to filmmaking.
Yeah.
And then I booked my flight, flew off here at 17 years old, and I faced the harsh reality of being a 17-year-old, going from having no responsibility at all to having all kinds of responsibility. You have to go to school, you have to find a place to stay in, you have to, afford that and that and that. So, but I think I discovered filmmaking when I went to college, and I only took that class because I didn't find any acting classes. So I was like, let me know how directors communicate to, actors. And I wanted to learn their language and stuff. And man, I fell in love with it, and I never turned back. I remember making my first film, and you can ask Tim and Matt about that. I made my first film, Smiley Face, and it's embarrassing film. Like, you look at it right now, it's like, it's embarrassing. But I will say this though, the professor, I remember her after I finished my first film, she started taking it and showed it to all other classes.
Oh, wow.
Because of how good, quote unquote, it is. So just imagine the amount of like I'm good at this. I'm not retarded just like everybody used to think about me. Yeah. So I did that, and actually Tim and Matt worked on this with me also. And it was inspiring knowing that I did something like that. So, and I just kept honing that skill. I learned cinematography a little bit, and then started working. I was a better editor than I am a cinematographer. So I sort of let editing take a backseat, worked on what I was really weak at, and then took cinematography classes. And I remember my second film, Rebirth. It was a 6-minute short experimental.
I saw that one, yeah.
I think you did. I think you did, the experimental short film. And I did it, and I took it to a short film festival with cash rewards, and I made my first $6,000 ever. And I was like,
I love it.
Yo!
So from there, it was like, it's that contrast.
I can make a living.
I can do it.
Yeah, I can make a living. Yeah. Even if I'm not making millions and millions of dollars, I can make a living out of this and remain to feel that the same way. And also, not just that, when people started seeing my films little by little and the topics that I talk about, they walk out of the film with something, or they see the film and they were like, wow, this is something that made them think about something in their own life in a way. And I think this is why I do it. I think, aside from the good, making a living, doing something I love, it's really the euphoria of knowing somebody's looking at your work and they walk out of the theater, or after they turn off the film, they'd be like, wow, I need to change something about my life, or this needs to be addressed in a way. And even if honestly, if I can make the film that will do that, I don't want any credit for it. I don't want even my name to be put on it. If they put anonymous, I'll be perfectly fine. It will actually feel better because I don't want the exposure that comes along with that. I don't really need it. If I need the money, maybe, but I don't need. I really don't want the exposure. I don't want to be known. I really want my work to be better than. I don't want people to even associate like me with the work. I don't want them to think, oh, he did something bad or he did something good, therefore the work is good. I don't want that. Yeah. I don't want to. I want to be nothing in comparison to the craft that gets put together.
I do get that. I do. I think one of the things is that I've almost been encouraged to is like I watch movies because I know who the director is and I know, but you don't want that.
I don't want it to influence my decision on the film.
You want people to watch it just cause, not because of who you are.
Absolutely.
But even though you're connected with greatness.
If my story will serve the film in a way, absolutely. But if the film itself is going to be like, let's say the film is not good, right? I don't want my name to be the marketing tool. I don't want it to be that. I want the film to be good and people see the film for what it is and not to have a preconceived notion of like, oh, like for example, Christopher Nolan, this must be a great film automatically. Before even seeing the film, you don't know if it's a great film. And
then you don't even say when the film sucks. You're like, oh, it is because you're trying to make
you're trying to fit it because you already have a preconceived notion of like, this is a great person. How can he not do a great thing?
Yeah, and you're saying like, I'm allowing, if it's a bad movie, let it be a bad movie. Don't try to make it where I'm great and so
absolutely.
You're trying to,
yes.
I get that.
I don't want to. That's why anonymous. Put that anonymous on there.
So now it's very much. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Don't connect. Oh, because it's this actor or this director. Is this,
absolutely.
Composer. It's like it's
absolutely
be to what you are. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. And then so it's for that, right? That's
it's
your goal.
For that. Having somebody look at my work and be like, I need to change something about my life.
And that is pretty similar to me. I think it's even to take action. I think there's so much going on with directors' heads. Like for us, even original ideas we have. There's so much going on up here, and it's like if you're a good communicator and a good storyteller, it kind of that's one step, right? If you're a good communicator, and I think if you're a good communicator, you can be a good storyteller. And it's like, but how do I do that with film? And are these stories worth it? I think that's a big thing for me. Like, is it even worth to tell this story? Is it even worth to tell the story of Andrew? Is it even worth to do the podcast to talk about these people's stories? And every time is yes. But you always have to ask that question.
Of course.
So I think that's great. That's so good. One of the big things I wanted to talk to you about is, what I've heard even in that is you worked hard, your passion, like, because we see it. I think everyone could feel it watching, hearing. It's like... the passions, even in this room, it's like, man, and I'm super passionate. So when we first talked, you were like, bro, like you're about to hit reality. I'm like, I know what reality is. And I was homeless that same year you said that. And that was before I was homeless. And that was one of the harsh realities. And so it was like, man, I know Andrew talked to me about this and it hit me, but it was something like, dude, we both feel called to this, right? Like we feel like this is something like this is, I don't want to sound cheesy, but like almost our destiny. And so it's like we having these situations either are going to do one or two. It's going to break or make us. And what I've seen from you, it's almost molded you, right? It's like it's more to who you are now. And so the passion is like. So how do you? Because the balance is this, like, because there's a lot of negative stuff that's happened in your life, and with family and probably friends, and same with me. My question is, as a result of that, because you don't want to make that your main focus, right? Like, do you want to make that your main focus? Like, my fuel for the car is out of everyone's almost ignorance and disdain for what I'm doing. Do you let that fuel you? Like, what fuels you? And should it be that, like, or even how much a percent should that be to like go out and go after your dream? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Well, if I'm understanding you correctly, are you letting like, in a sense, are you asking me if proving the people wrong is the fuel?
Okay. Or is it just the actual film?
It's not. It's not. It really isn't. I will say this. I was actually talking to Tim the other day, my friend, a good friend of mine, about this, and I was like, what is it that makes somebody like what is it that makes
Jesus. Sorry guys, we are in a offices and they're having a class and they like to be loud. They're supposed to be starting in like 2 minutes.
No, I think what I was saying is, what is it that makes somebody tear up from just the thought of something?
Yeah.
And it's something that I think about every day, every minute of the day, before I sleep, when I sleep, while I'm dreaming, once I wake up. It's something that doesn't leave me. Yeah. It's something that you're willing to sacrifice everything for. It's something that the fact that the thought of it just gets you excited. Yeah. And this is the fuel. Yeah. This is the fuel, being able to do that. And and that gives you the level of confidence that makes you conquer anything else. The fact that you're listening to your heart every step of the way, and you're not ignoring your heart, even though it sounds like a stupid heart. Yeah. It sounds like a crazy heart, yeah. Right? In comparison to what reality and what logic seems to say. And what you do is you try to consider all the options, and you listen to all the opinions. You don't block it out from the get-go, but you do listen to it, you consider it, and then if your heart still is consistent and it's whispering, and your heart doesn't scream, yeah, your passion doesn't yell at you. It's like it whispers. It's like, this is yours. You don't have to run towards it. You just have to walk. It's like I don't know if I told you this metaphor before, but when you go into a theater and you buy reserved seating. Yes. Okay, so you buy the reserved seating. Your seat is numbered that, and then you just have to go get out of the house, dress up, and go to the theater, drive, and then sit in your seat. It's yours. You already paid the price. Yeah. It is yours. Wow. No one's gonna take it. Yeah. So this is it. I think there's a voice inside me that tells me, you don't have to run towards this. No one is gonna be able to take it for you. It's yours. Wow. You just have to roll up the sleeves and start chopping away. Yep. I love that. And it's like, it's almost one of these things where you're paying almost constantly. Like every time you're doing something, it's like, oh, you just got more of that seat. You paid off more of that seat because it's an expensive seat. Of course. It's very expensive. It's very expensive. And you have to sacrifice a lot for that seat. Absolutely. You have to sacrifice your time, which is probably the most important thing. Time, and sadly to say this, friends, and sadly to say this, relationships, sadly to say this, sometimes you have to ignore your family to a certain extent to even though it's coming from a place of love with them. They care about you. They want you to have the best. But guess what? I also want the best for me. Who cares? Why would I want to damage my life? Exactly. And that's what they think we're doing, right? Yeah. But I think they don't have the experience for where I'm going, so they don't know the address to where I'm going. Yeah. So I can't take advice from them on what the directions are. Wow. I know I want to go to a certain direction. I don't know the specifics of the direction, but I know the goal. I know the end goal. I know the light at the end of the tunnel, and I just have to find my way to there. Yeah. I may stumble, I may get a few speed bumps on the way, but I am understanding, or I'm at least asking people that are on the way there. And you're literally sitting from the outside and you have no idea, so I can't really take any advice from you. With all respect to their love. For sure. And we have contrasting families for sure, because my parents were so great to kind of release me and to kind of be like, allow me to kind of chase after my dream of doing this. Which is amazing, and you have to embrace it for sure. I know, exactly. Awesome. And when I hear your story, it does make me sad, but it also makes me appreciate even my family more. Absolutely, absolutely. And just like, man, wow, this is not the norm, and this is my norm. Absolutely, and that's your norm. Absolutely. And so it's like, wow, there's such a contrast. And the thing is, it doesn't seem like almost like it's great that they've almost pushed me on. But for you, even, it's like you haven't allowed that to stop where you're going. That's the thing. It can't stop you. It's what is in your heart. This voice that's inside you is so much stronger than anything else. Yeah. You will fall. And obviously, there is a time of downtime. I'm not passionate all the time. I'm not excited all the time. There is a place where once you hear that, it hurts you a little bit. But once you start proving yourself little by little, they start seeing the fruits of what you're doing and be like, Yeah. They don't even say anything because, they feel a little iffy about it. But they see you and they're like, he actually knows what he's doing. He wasn't all talk after all. and you just and it's nice. It's a nice feeling when you start proving yourself. But it's not the driving force. It's not.
I love it, and you never get to that point. And it's gonna feel good when you prove people wrong for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm already doing it. I've had people kind of say to me when I was back home, they're like, "Oh, he'll be back," and I was like,
"Yeah,
it's kind of cringe."
Sure, why not?
I'm like, keep saying stuff like that, and it's almost humbling now, right? Yeah. Because when I grew here and grew my craft, I was like, man, I was so immature to think that I'm trying to prove these people. Like, why are they even in my peripheral vision? I'm going this way, and they're here. They're behind me. I don't look back. I gotta look forward.
Absolutely.
So I love that. I think that's so important for creatives because I think they have the wrong drive, and they have so much people. And it's like when you do it out of that place, and when you prove people wrong, and you've proved them wrong, now what? Was that your goal the whole time? And now that doesn't fuel you because everyone's like, "Oh, you're right, and you got it, you won." And they're like, "Yeah, okay."
I know.
Now
what do you feel about that?
Because it was never about people.
Absolutely.
It was never about affecting people.
Absolutely.
It was about.
But I will say this though: there's a better way to actually do this. You can instead of having the negative influence be the driving force of you, you can think about it for the people that you love. Yeah. For Tim, for my best friends that are really close to me, for even my parents to be able to financially sustain them. Wow. You think that drives you even further because you're not just doing it for yourself. Yeah. You're not doing that one film because you want to be this big shot that really nobody cares about.
Exactly, right?
Like,
I love that.
Like you're just gonna see the film and be like, oh, this is a great film, and people are gonna forget about you completely until you come up with something good next. And I don't want that. I want to be able to the people around me to. I feed off their energy and they feed off my energy, and I'll be able to help them a little bit and they'll be able to help me a little bit. That drives me even further. When I am working for 3-4 days with no sleep, there are days where times during that 4 days, I'm like, I am really exhausted, but dang, somebody's depending on me. Wow. Tim is depending on me. My family's depending on me. Everyone around me is I am depending on me. I am depending on me. So that just gives you, it's like a different kind of energy. You got the passion energy, which dies down a little bit, but that is like when you're grinding out the last couple of minutes, when you're putting that last couple of hours. And I think what's awesome about these hours is that nobody sees. It stays with you. It stays in your heart. Obviously, we're talking about it right now, but usually it really stays in your heart and nobody knows about it. And it's when you cross that finish line, or when you get that award, or when you finish that film, right? First thing that you remember is those hours, is those minutes of extreme suffering and pain, because it's awesome. It's so rewarding then when you go through it.
I think it's so cool that even you, like, creatives, you have to, not, you don't have to, but I think it's important to have really good friends who are also creatives, because like with you and I and Tim, who we both mutually know, and we'll get you guys both on because they run a business together. But I understand, right? I'm like, I know, like, hey, like, and the thing is, and I know you appreciate, and we've done this a couple times where I've invited you to things, maybe knowing you're busy, but I never thought to say, oh, he's too busy. I'm like, I'm gonna invite him instead, see where he's up to, and maybe he's not, and if he's not, he can hang, which would be great. But you are usually. But I mean, you give him the time for this, and that's okay, right? Like that's the thing.
And I'm sure you'll understand. You'll understand
sure.
why.
I'm never mad.
Of course.
I think it's one of the things when, and I know there's sacrifice, but I always say balance. I always say there's a balance, because I think what's on your heart, and you've already told me, and what's on I think a lot of our hearts in our circle is basically we want to bring people with us.
Absolutely.
Right? And you've done a good job with even collabing with me and some of your friends, and we've done a little thing together, which is great. We've just kind of been there for each other, and I know I'm having a project coming up that you're going to be a part of, and even my friend, connecting with my friend, and now all these little things, and it's like what that does is honestly being a nobody is I'm just one piece to this huge puzzle. And so that I feel like we're just connecting the puzzle pieces to help us all kind of get to a direction.
Absolutely.
So we need that. And even if it's, even if we're hanging out and it's not really a hangout, it's actually working, we're hanging out, we're in each other's presence.
It really is.
And that's
really is. Especially if the thing that you're talking about, or if the thing you're doing is, your heart's passion. Like it really, when I'm making like this, spending the 4 nights, it's not work. It really isn't. And you think about it as like, this is what makes me come alive. So why even go to sleep and spend that time sleeping while I can be working on this? You know?
I love it. Yeah. In my kind of even theory, or maybe not theory, better word would be like my mindset is to let's work hard now and then play later.
Absolutely.
Right? Like let's grind out in our 20s.
Absolutely.
And so when we make it, we're chilling, like we're just doing what we love.
And once you get to that point where you're gonna want to chill, you're not gonna end up wanting to chill because you've gotten to a certain point where you have bigger influence, you have more people to inspire, you have better films to make with a bigger budget that will create crazier ideas that will make people change things about their lives, and you just keep chasing that because you've done it so well after so many times, and you're like, why rest even? You know?
Exactly. And I think it's one of the things, this is the difference, right? Because we are directors. We're not going to be film editors. We're not going to be cinematographers. We're not going to be set
on
designers,
a technical level,
right?
Yes,
Exactly. And that's what we're having to do now. We have to
which is awesome. I love the technicalities of it.
Sure.
I love the being able to manipulate light and manipulate the sound and the sound design and all that stuff, you know, and it's cool that we're going actually through it right now. Yeah. Just so when you are in the place of being a leader of these people at some point, you'll be able to communicate it very easily to them, where they almost from the time that you're talking with them from an hour, they'll be like, I know exactly everything that he's saying, and he's very detailed, and I know I'm going to achieve that because you communicated it very well.
And that's the big thing. You'll see a lot of these directors and people. They're with the same people. They bring the same cinematographer with them, and
absolutely because they understand them already.
It's relationship.
Like, I was working with a great concept artist, which you have interviewed a couple of days ago.
Shout out
yesterday. So I was working with him, and you know. He was just understanding everything that I was getting, and like we didn't have to do a lot of revisions. I would just say it, and it comes exactly how I would want it to be. And just knowing, you know, my background in like cinematography, I think I was able to communicate the light, where the light is coming from, what kind of detail, and then be able to send references that he will be able to understand quickly. And I think this is the whole point. I think that being a good filmmaker is not necessarily doing everything yourself. Being a good filmmaker is communicating everything that is in your vision to the best of your ability, to the people that are talented enough, that are really good enough to actually plant this image on the screen for you.
You're setting pillars for the building. You can't hold it by yourself.
Absolutely.
You're setting them. You're like, okay, this is
your part. You take care of this part, and you take care of it this way, and then you take care of this part, and you take care of this way, and you respect their decisions. You respect their creative decisions, and you just hand it off, and you trust in their ability to do the 100%.
And it is so cool that we're like so young.
Yeah.
And we are working in like a professional mindset, or I wouldn't say level, but I would say maybe level, but maybe not equipment wise, but we're understanding there's communication's huge, and we're working with people who aren't like, Joshua's not a whatever artist.
He's not. And even when you talk to him on a friend level is very different from like when we would FaceTime. You know, for work-wise, the way he talks is completely different from when he talks with you, when he's hanging out with you. Yeah. Completely different person, right?
He has to wear the hat, right?
He wears it so well. And I was like, this dude is like ready to be...
right? That's how
and I love that. I love that, and I respect it so much because I like to be, you know, treated similarly, and I like to deal with things similarly. I think when I'm on... And this is why maybe I didn't like film school so much, just because some people were there to have fun. I'm like, this is not fun. Like
this is work, man.
It will be fun. It would be fun if you do your job right and we get it done, and then we can hang out and do everything. I'm not saying like yell. I'm not saying do all that stuff. But you know, just put your heart into what you're doing, and this is the fun part of it. You know,
exactly. And I think that even comes with culturally, and coming from a whole other country is like. Dude, I didn't come out here to goof around. I'm out here to work. Y'all, I know, and we take it for granted, right? And I don't even because I think, it's not as I think the biggest jump for you as you did, but I came from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right. And I was
but you moved.
Yeah, I moved.
You
Exactly.
shaped things up
Exactly.
for that one specific thing.
Exactly.
And I think you can relate on a certain level. For me, it was pretty much similar, but the only difference is I wasn't able to. I had this language barrier in the beginning. I had like life of a foreigner just to deal with in the beginning. For like 3 months, complete depression, dude, for 4 months, and but it's awesome. I think it's like you said, these things forges us into who we are now, and then the experiences stay in the back of your head. So when you are faced with something else, whether it's in life or your career, you remember these things that you've overcame before, and you're like, dang. This is a piece of cake. Let's take care of it, you know?
And that's probably one of the things I want to encourage you in. What I've been doing is at the end of the month or even within the month, I've been writing down what I've accomplished. I don't know if you do that, but like just writing down.
To a certain extent. Not every month maybe, but every once in a while I do write things down, yes.
I would encourage you to do that. Just getting January. What did you do in January? Like I did that little short film with Tim. I did, in February I did my first wedding with Emerge Films.
Right on.
And so like I'm writing these things down. So at the end of the year, I didn't think, because time is just and stuff but to understand like, bro, we did a lot and we were killing it. And wow, look where I've been.
I know, and it gives you a boost for next month.
Exactly.
It just keeps you on
I can
roll.
do more.
Absolutely.
So those are some things. I loved it. I think we're gonna end there.
Okay.
That was awesome. I loved it. We kind of stayed in this box. We usually go on rabbit trails. But thank you so much again for coming.
Thank you.
It was so great having you.
For having me.
Guys, Yanni, just thank him. Give him a round of applause where you're at. Thank you. Guys, so basically I wanted to end this and just say that we do have a Patreon account. And the Patreon account, basically what it is if you haven't heard of it, it's a chance for you guys to almost give to this podcast, to give in, to kind of, support this, what we're doing here with the podcast and the film and all that stuff. And if you guys found value in it, I think that's super important. If you found value and you want more of this, we can have more a week. We can have different people. We can pay you guys to even come on. And even we want merch, and you heard us talk about nobodies. And that's something we wanted to brand. So if that's something you feel like you were just encouraged and you felt like this is something that's really helping you, even in these few podcasts that you listen to, and this is something that you want to just kind of, whatever it is, $1 or whatever, that would be super great, because we want to really kind of launch this and get this out to more people. And I think we can do that with your guys' help. And again, if you find value in it, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, and it's not really, I don't think it's really going into your pocket or something like that. It would be going into something else that will be a film, or be something that will, drive people to see other things from us,
Yeah, better studio.
So it's definitely coming back to you. It's definitely coming back to you. So so into this dude.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you shouting me out. Okay, so we're going to link all his stuff. If you guys want to check out at the end, we're going to show something of you if we can do that.
Sure,
we're going to show a little clip so you guys can see what he's actually made of. We'll get a little montage. But have a good one, guys. Thank you for tuning in. What we do now, and I want to kind of do at the end, is we say, me and Josh did it. So I'm like, let me just keep it a trend, and then everyone's going to say it. And I don't know if you heard it before, but we say, bye. You ever do that? So, bye.
Bye.